Hello, and we say fantastic day to each and every one of you at this moment of your time. We are the Pleiadian Council. We speak on behalf of a galactic alliance of many beings from different dimensions, different places within this universe, coming together to support your planet and welcome you to an alliance, if you'd like. We are multidimensional, we are many. We specifically come from the Pleiades. I am one guide who speaks in a we sense, because in our world we have dissolved so much of this separation consciousness. We are highly telepathic, and this allows us to have a connection with the collective consciousness, with the rest of the beings in our own world. So while there is one of us, we see in terms of we, yes. And we can get information from the many other beings that exist within our world, if that is necessary. We come to support your world in this process. Some of you call evolution, some of you call ascension. That is a literal shift of your perspective and the dimension that you physically inhabit. This is a shift of your energy that will allow for you to go beyond so many of the limitations that you have thus experienced as a planet so far. And it all has to do with experiencing a deep surrender to the frequency of love. This frequency of love is the fabric of your reality. It is not something that is external to you. It is something that is both within you and all around you. It is your true nature. It is the intention with which Source or Creator brought about this particular universe. And that is the gift for you all to experience in this universe, is an immersion in unconditional love. Though because this is a universe of duality, you could say, a universe where you experience things in oppositional extremes of positive and negative energy, you simultaneously experience pain and fear, and all sorts of different experiences that are not entirely unique to your world, but are unique to physical reality. As a soul, you come here to go through those experiences and gradually, layer by layer, shed the belief systems and patterns of behavior that accompany those belief systems that keep you in cycles of pain. And eventually you come to be so free from them that you transcend physicality entirely. And this is what the yogis, as you are studying now, have talked about as enlightenment. And we have our own way of speaking about this and sharing about it. Though we come from a world of many worlds that are, in a sense, totally enlightened. And while it may still be a process for each and every one of you to shed those layers of limiting beliefs, everyone is capable of connecting with and interacting with beings that are of an enlightened frequency where they are at. As you learn how to raise your consciousness and focus your energy and awareness into the upper chakras, as you say, you can have these telepathic experiences of contact with guides that may come from your world or may come from other worlds. So we mostly wish to impart a message of how you can raise your frequency so that these experiences are possible, or that any experience that you would prefer would be possible. We share a formula, and we are not unique in sharing this with your world. There are others who teach this in their own way or in ways similar to this. And this formula is to act upon your highest passion to the best of your ability without any insistence on a particular outcome. So there are 3 parts to that, and we'll elaborate a little bit on each of them. Acting on your highest passion is a moment-to-moment experience that leads you to live a life that is guided by this energy of passion. Passion is a feeling of expansion in your heart. We understand that some of you have different connotations with your world, of this word, rather, in your world, that mean different things, but when we speak about it, it means an expansion of love within the center of your being. And acting upon it means you open yourself to all of the possibilities before you in every single moment. And between the choices you have from, say, taking a walk, calling a friend, going to a restaurant, doing a yoga class, reading a book, you note which of these choices resonate with the greatest feeling of expansion in your heart. And by choosing that above everything else, you attune to the highest possible, best case scenario for you in that particular moment. Because again, as everything is an emanation of this one source of unconditional love, by allowing yourself to emotionally gravitate towards what brings you to an experience of unconditional love, you come closer to that one source and your whole energy shifts. So we say it starts with the small things, and those small things bring you to make bigger decisions, such as getting on a plane and flying to another country and coming to some sort of retreat program. And there are many other decisions of this nature that some of you may feel resistance to, or some of you are already well on your way of moving in the direction of. Though these decisions, again, happen from a moment-to-moment basis to the bigger decisions that can really seem to make a big impact in your life, though we also want to impart to you this understanding that the little decisions matter just as much. Because if there is an inkling of passion in your heart that you decide to suppress, you are in that moment cutting yourself off from source and not allowing that energy to flow. So the next part of this formula, step 2, is you act upon your passion to the very best of your ability. And that means you use all of the internal resources of your reasoning and logic and intuition and everything you've learned, and you try as well as you can to put everything into place to make your passion flow in the most beautiful and aligned way. It also means opening yourself up to all of the different resources in your external world, including other sources of information, or other people that can help you to actualize that passion in your most preferred way. The last step is to have no insistence on an outcome. And this is maybe an area where people struggle most frequently, because this is what is spoken of when you hear the concept of non-attachment. It is not to not have expectations. It's certainly not that, because you cannot help but expect something. Every day you're casting expectations out, but it is to not attach to those expectations and to be open to the results that come. Understanding that sometimes there's a fork in the road that you wouldn't have gotten to had the obstacle not been thrown on your way. And that fork in the road leads to somewhere better than where you set out to go in the first place. Also, it's an understanding that you have to learn lessons in order to grow. And that when you attach to your outcome, your expectations on an outcome, and when you attach to definitions that you have already set into place with your belief systems of success and failure, good and bad, embarrassing or well executed, and so on and so forth. You don't allow yourself with these definitions to really take in the lessons of every experience that you have and accept what you've learned so that you can better follow the path of your passion the next time, better execute the steps so that you can get where you are guided to go by your own heart, your heart that is in connection eternally with that divine source. The divine source lives within you in your heart, and it communicates to you through your heart. That feeling of passion or excitement or love that wells up within you is the divine speaking to you and guiding you onto the right path, if you choose to follow. So, we can also introduce a couple of other ideas to you. And the next idea is what we describe as 5 laws of existence. The first law is you exist and you will always exist. This is not a once and done sort of a thing. The energy that you are made of will perpetually keep on going in some form or another. The being that you are today will always be you. And the next law is all is one, and the one is an all. And this helps you to return to that awareness of everything as source, and source as manifesting through all of the beings around you. Everything is interconnected. So what affects one being affects another being in a totally different area. That is why things that affect your world affect our world, and why when you were starting to play with certain ideas like nuclear warfare, it sent off a signal that attracted intergalactic intelligence to come to your world, because nothing is truly separate. And where there is a positive energy, that energy ripples out to areas that you might not even be aware of or see. The same thing with negative energy. It is all interconnected. And this is also related to some of these other laws, such as above, so below. Things play out on many dimensional levels continuously. And this ties in as well with this understanding that you are a multi-dimensional being with many layers, including this seeming layer of time. One of these other laws is everything is here and now. And this means that this notion of past and future are actually but illusions. The past and future exist in the present. It is only in your physical reality that you create this distortion of the perception of linear time. When you go beyond physical reality, there is one moment that is experienced in many different ways. And you can move and switch between different potential realities and moments. In physical reality, you experience this moment-to-moment shift. The past and the future are alive here. And thus the experiences from the past are alive in the present. And everything that you've learned from the past, for better and for worse, are alive in the present. And thus you create your reality through these learnings of your past. And it is the belief systems that you are either taught or you generate yourself based upon traumatic experiences that prevent you from time to time from actually letting that passion in your heart guide you to the outcomes that serve you the best. So the next law is what you put out comes back. And that is saying that everything that you do energetically or in your actions has a ripple effect that returns back onto you. The positive energy you do brings back positive energy into your life. The negative energy you cast out brings negative energy back into your life. And this is true for every being. And understanding this allows you to know the deep importance of every action you take, even if it is a slight holding back of that frequency of love. It will continue a perpetual pattern of making similar choices. Finally, the last law is everything changes, but these prior 4 laws. Change is the constant of the universe. And by accepting the change and bringing it into your awareness in a loving way, you can release your attachment to the outcome. You can learn to be adaptive to an ever-changing world and not create false expectations of coming to the same place twice. Because in every single moment, every individual is rapidly shifting through billions of parallel realities, billions of different universes based upon minute changes in your thoughts and in your feelings. Thus, you're never interacting with the same person. You're never coming back to the same place. Everything is in a constant state of change. And yes, the only thing that doesn't change are these fundamental laws that represent in different ways the fact that everything is interconnected and that all actions taken affect everything else, past, future, and in other realities entirely. So perhaps this is a lot to digest, but we trust that another level of you might be coming to you now. You might feel a remembrance of something as you hear this information, as if it is not something new, yet simultaneously it allows for your own higher mind to start to communicate to you through your heart center. Allow yourself to be focused there. Allow your awareness to drift to whatever place you might go to, for this is a multidimensional transmission that can allow you to tap into some of the hidden knowledge that has always been within you at a soul level. All right, we thank you for allowing us to share that transmission, that information with you. And we ask, in which way could we be of support to you now with any questions, sharings, comments, or anything you would like to speak?
Are there any observations that have been made that humans, that we do repeatedly, that is on the wrong path, or something that we're doing that's obvious, that's wrong?
Something that you in general do?
Yes.
It is listening to fear-based belief systems before you prioritize your heart. That is generally what you do. It's generally what causes your strife and distress. These fear-based patterns can come to you from stories that you've heard from your parents and from school and from the news, or it can come from traumatic events that you've experienced. In general, what we can say is that these beliefs create a false sense of lack or unsafety that is not fundamentally true, but feels very true in the moment, and paralyzes the individual in such a way that they don't feel they can make a choice to return to their heart and act in love. And the fundamental thing that you can do is recognize that the lack and the unsafety is not real. It is imagined. And open your mind to see that there's evidence that supports the opposite being true, that safety and empowerment and freedom is a higher truth. And even if you don't see that, learn how to courageously step forward into what your heart is guided to regardless. That is in general what most of you do wrong, is you don't allow yourself to step out of the constricting hold of these negative beliefs.
Hello, Pleiadian Council. Nice to be talking to you again.
Hello, yes.
Can you speak about the year 2023, the year ahead of us? We're from all over different countries. We're in Cambodia right now. Are there any events or things you see in future timelines that could affect the people in this room?
Generally, we see this year as impacting a certain situation in your world involving a war, that this war situation will get worse and then better. This is a year of moving towards peace, and that peace then rippling out to the world to bring balance to places that are rather unstable. There is a movement towards equality and freedom on all fronts, and you will continue to see this in many places where there is great oppression. This is what we say in general the year of taking initiative. It is a year for individuals to step into their awareness and their understanding of themselves as a creator. You think a lot in your religions about the creator of all that is, but you don't bring yourself back to the fundamental awareness that the creator apparently made all of creation endowed with the creator's qualities, and that makes you as well a creator. So taking initiative means recognizing that you are in many ways in control of your experience, and of course there are ways that you are also not in control of reality at all, though more individuals are actually surrendered too much. They don't recognize the control that they do have. And taking initiative means standing proud and strong for who you are and choosing to direct your life in ways that you find rewarding, satisfying, and fill your heart with that degree of unconditional love.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you think it's bad for people to have goals in their life if you think that we should have attachment to certain outcomes?
Well, again, this is the distinction we're making. It's not don't have expectations, because right now all of you are expecting that you have a good dinner like you had yesterday and a good meal earlier. You're casting that out into the world, right?
Yeah.
So that's a small level expectation. And expectations are actually good, they're positive. Because when you expect that you're going to continue to generate abundance with your job and so on and so forth, it puts you in the framework of that reality and allows you to plan accordingly and take the necessary action steps. So you cannot not expect. All of you are expecting all the time. So anyone who says, have no expectations, doesn't understand what an expectation is in a fundamental way, because it's impossible not to have them. It's the attachment to your expectations. So it's like attachment is this strong grip that causes you to use every muscle in your body. You're holding on so tightly when what the expectation is really a balloon. Do you need to use all the strength in your body to hold down a balloon? No, but if you do, your entire body will clench up. And that constriction will cause you to lose focus on the greater, more holistic picture. It will cause you to be misguided by your fear-based beliefs. Attachment is rooted in negative fear-based beliefs. And attachment is like blinders that keep you from seeing other possibilities. When you are attached to expectations, you don't recognize that your expectations might be guiding you down the path to a point where you find a crossroads that leads you somewhere better. You might expect that you are going down a road and all of a sudden you note that the road is closed, or it's a dead end, or there's a terrible mishap in the way. But if you chose to keep going because you expected to go that one way to get to your destination, you'd encounter a whole lot of trouble. So having no expectations means that yes, no attachment, yes, to expectations means that you know what you intend and know what you want, but you're open to whatever happens, and you're willing to use whatever happens, whenever changes come on your path, as the necessary redirection to help you get where you're going. It means that you loosen your grip and understand that there's a greater purpose, that you might want something so much, but the purpose of your wanting is to expand your passion. The purpose of your wanting is not always to get what you want, but it is to expand this heart energy within you. And the more you expand this heart energy and feel greater degrees of love, the more you are connected to that one source. All that you're doing is simply to expand the feeling of love within you. It doesn't matter how you go about doing that. Somebody can expand the love within themselves sitting in caves for weeks, while another person will expand the love within them by pursuing something totally different. Both paths are okay when you recognize that what is fundamental is an expansion of that frequency of love. And that's all any expectation is leading you towards. And you need to, yes, own your expectations in order for them to guide you to that love without holding on too tightly to exactly what you think you're going to get or how you are going to get it.
How do you choose the people you are working with as a channel?
It's an agreement on both levels. We are open to whoever really wants to connect with us. It is a soul agreement, yes, though those individuals who find that they are very interested in learning about beings on the other side and learning about these different states of consciousness and experiencing them might find that beings like ourselves are more willing to make a soul agreement with them, because tuning into these states requires a certain level of focus to experience a different state of consciousness. And these different states of consciousness require practice to sustain.
What is love?
Love is the emanation of the one source, or the one creator, in this particular dimension. Love is what pulls things together. It unites things because it is the fabric of reality. The experience of love is the awareness of that fundamental connection. So when you look at somebody and you feel that you love them, you feel very connected to them. You feel as if you're part of the same thing. You feel maybe that you are two parts of the same whole or the same soul. You feel like you were meant to be together. These are the things that many of you say, because it's pointing to the fact that love is a uniting, love is a union. And unconditional love is the deep awareness of your innate union with the spiritual source of all that is. And so why this formula works is because it brings you to feel more and more love more of the time. When you feel more and more love all of the time, that awareness that you are interconnected with everything around you always starts to sink into your cells in a deep way, and that literally changes your entire energy field and body, so that what you impact with your vibration starts to resonate with that awareness of love as well. So, bringing it back to the simplest sense of this question, what is love? It is an awareness of oneness. And love, in another sense, is the fabric of all that is, that unites oneness. And then you could say love as a verb is to recognize your connection or your union with another.
What is happening during a dark night of the soul?
It's the release of deeply held negative belief systems. If you see this from the yogic lens, what we call belief systems could also be called samskaras. They are thought patterns, and they shape your perception of reality. You are unconscious of the fact that they are guiding you until you become aware of them. In order to release them, you have to become aware of them and feel them. So a dark night of the soul is when many of these negative beliefs flood to the surface all at once, and it feels like they are paralyzing you. The dark night of the soul continues if you let the negative beliefs trick you into continuing to habitually act upon their guidance. The dark night of the soul ends and transforms when you recognize that you are empowered to make different choices and to open to different perspectives, and thus defeat the hold of those negative beliefs by bringing about new positive beliefs or new healthy behaviors. And so why this dark night comes after a lot of expansion is because the expansion into connection with Source or your higher self is sort of like shaking up the glass of water. And the glass of water has some dirt that is settled to the bottom. It's been sitting for so long that it seems as if it is clear at the top until you stir it around. And everything starts to get stirred, but you're simultaneously pouring more water in so that gradually all of the dirt spills over the side. Essentially, before you choose to open to Source and open to that dedication to expand the love within you, so many of these patterns are unconscious to you. And then gradually you flood yourself with more and more awareness, more and more love, and all of these patterns that were unconscious to you hit you at once and become very conscious to you. They become very clear and apparent to you. And it's the most challenging moment because you cannot really get rid of the awareness you've developed. And so something fundamentally has to change, but you might be very stubborn. You might be holding on to the stubbornness that says, yes, but I only wanted to change this much. It's already too late. You've already expanded your awareness, and now you have to make that essential pivot point to change in a more fundamental way.
Are there any other guides or being in this room at this moment? And if so, are you able to tell us who they are?
There's many. All of you have your own personal guides, and the guides of some individuals are getting closer, coming in to say hello. There are also spirit beings that are connected with this center, and those individuals who have established it and spent some time here that watch over it, and they are very interested in this as well.
Are there any messages for me?
Well, what is your excitement? What is your passion?
New chapter in life?
Meaning what? Doing what? Experiencing what?
Moving?
Moving? Moving where?
Europe?
All right. And why is that exciting for you?
I don't know, because it's new, different.
All right. So you're being guided to experience something new, to surrender to a new situation. And this new environment will bring in many new connections, many new sorts of experiences. And you are also guided here. You are guided to learn and deepen something new. You are guided, yes, to change some fundamental patterns and bring in a more peaceful way of being, and you will be challenged to do this in the process of moving. So you can understand this period as planting the seeds that you will then have to work hard to tend to.
Do you think it's bad for people to be fearful over things like climate change?
It's bad to be afraid of anything. Unless there's a snake that's about to bite you in front of you. What is fear? Fear is a foundational biological response to a threatening phenomenon. And fear is there to give you a rush of adrenaline and other hormones that allow you to respond to an immediate threat. Therefore, any degree of fear that is not about an immediate threat is very unhealthy, because what it's doing is it's filling your body with hormones that are meant to make you fight or flight all the time. So the first answer is any fear that isn't about an immediate danger to your life or the lives of those around you is both irrational and harmful to you. Now on to the part of climate change. Well, your world is changing a lot, and you are causing many of these changes. The pollution itself is damaging your lives, and you know this. The climate changing is not actually as much of a threat, and this is what people are focusing on so much. That the temperatures are different here and the temperatures are different there. But this you'll be able to adapt to. You'll even be able to adapt to the sea levels rising. But what is actually harming you is the toxins that are killing many of the insects and are building up in your body and are all around you. And so think less about climate change, because again, as we've said, everything is changing all the time and you can't stop it from changing. And if you weren't accelerating it with the gases you were emitting with your technologies, the world would heat up anyway. It would just take longer. So think more about climate pollution, because that is the more imminent threat. And yes, even that is not an immediate threat to your health, or to your life rather. It's impacting your health, but there's ways around it. And if you're passionate about changing the state of your world, then we would encourage you to take more empowered actions. Actions to change how you create pollution, and actions to gather people to step up together in opposition to many of the most polluting agents and agencies in your world. It's not really about how much you fly or how much you don't fly, or this and that, when you are the tiniest fraction of everything taking place. And instead, there's industries that make decisions that bring about more pollution in a day than you would be able to contribute to in your entire lives. So you need to think of it bigger, and you need to recognize that you are more powerful than you think you are if you really want to make a change in this area. And we will say, if you're not really passionate about that, then let your passion guide you to do something else, and recognize that anything you do to raise your frequency in love is changing the frequency of the entire planet, and that's what matters more than anything else. You can indirectly support the world in transforming its pollution problem by returning into love-based energies, because that energy will ripple out and impact everyone around you. And it is fear that causes the greed and poor decisions that lead to pollution. And fear is the opposite of love. Fear is what you feel when you don't feel connected.
Can you tell us something about this place, the temple?
This area that you now call Cambodia was a very advanced civilization, and they worked with high levels of consciousness and awareness. They had deep telepathic bonds with spirit guides, and also they were in contact with extraterrestrial beings at points in their development. So this land is a multidimensional vortex that you walk upon. There are secrets that are buried around the temples, and as you come to experience these centers, imagining what it was like back then, open yourself to these vast experiences, for you might find that you are coming to meet many different sorts of beings there. They are still present within the temple walls and around the lands.
Do your spirit guides show themselves to you, or how do you work with them if everyone has one? Like, how do you kind of get on the same page as them?
The first level of communication is very subtle, and it manifests as small signs within your body or signs in the world around you. So the signs show up when you give consent and invitation, first of all. The first step is intending on some level that spirit guides reach out to you and opening an invitation for them to do so. And then you might experience either as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up or in your meditation that there are subtle energies moving through your body, or that you're seeing certain colors or certain images show up that seem as if they are coming from someone else, somewhere else, or some level that is higher or deeper. You might feel these sensations as if they are more than physical, and they come with a strong energy or vibration, or similar to that feeling of butterflies in your belly, but moving through your body. You might see your guides as flashes of images that appear in your mind's eye or in your third eye. You might see your spirit guides in dreams. You might practice tools like guided meditation to deepen your connection with these guides. You can also notice the presence of guides in the events that take place around you. This isn't always guides, but for example, you might see recurring number patterns, or you might see the same name or the same archetype, such as a specific animal, appearing again and again in random places. This is often a message from your higher self that you are operating on another frequency. This synchronicity manifests when you are really living in the flow of your heart's passion. And it serves as a reminder that you've let your heart guide you on the right path. There's sometimes a guide connected with this experience, and sometimes there's not. Though the best way is to, yes, go within in meditation or as you're falling asleep and ask the guides to show up and pay attention to what you experience. When you feel that sort of different sensation, or you see a sort of special image, or yes, the other way is hearing. What happens for the channel is hearing, first of all. It first began with hearing and listening. So listening to your own thoughts for voices that sound a little bit different or come with an energy that feels to you to be of a higher frequency. And whatever comes to you, pay close attention to it. Notice if there's other levels of sensational phenomena that arise as you bring your focus into it.
How can I awaken my Kundalini?
Are you sure you want to do that right now? All right. Then there are so many ways. The practice of yoga itself is designed to prepare the body to rise the Kundalini by removing so many of these blockages or samskaras, and itself will raise some of that Kundalini energy. You can practice some of the more intensive practices to create a deeper rise of this energy. There are plants in your world that naturally bring rise to this energy. Experiences of great intensity give rise to this energy. Naturally, as you live in alignment with your passion, the Kundalini energy will rise on its own accord. There are many different techniques out there to force this energy to awaken, but we don't really encourage you to do them. We say if you do the gradual practices like yoga and you live based in your heart and let love guide you, your Kundalini will awaken at the time it's meant to, gradually over time. Because if you created a flood of this energy, it would awaken too many of the dormant samskaras stored in the chakras at once, and it could cause a sort of psychosis.
Do you have a contact with one of my guides right now? Can you talk to me about one of them, or?
One of them. All right. There's many different guides. You've asked for one. This guide that we first established contact with is sort of an ancient practitioner of martial arts and healing methods, such as Qigong and Tai Chi. They are a master from not too far from this region. They wish to reach out and let you know that some of your abilities, some of your interests come to you from across the lines of time and space. And the natural talent within you is there. And you can call upon some of those gifts from the seeming past to awaken within you now, and use this guide as a teacher that manifests within you.
To stay balanced.
What was that?
How to stay balanced.
It's impossible. Balance means a total equilibrium. And the back and forth between different sorts of experiences and extremes of experience is what really defines the human life. Remember that change is the only constant. So we say do not strive for balance unless you are using balance in a very literal way to balance in the right yoga posture. You think that you always have to be perfect, but this is not always possible. We would say learn how to have restraint. Restraint meaning the ability to not react to emotional patterns as they rise. Though the fact that emotional patterns rise means that they are resolving themselves. They resolve themselves by being felt and experienced and allowing you to transform them. You are all on this planet for a reason. It is an incarnation of transformation. Thus, you have to give rise to the patterns that you are transforming in order for them to change. And so it's okay that sometimes you feel out of balance, because when you are out of balance is when those negative beliefs and patterns are being cleared from your system. though yes, what we see you pointing towards more so is the ability to have restraint and self-control and a sort of groundedness. Yes, it is important to be grounded, and groundedness leads to the restraint. When you are feeling yourself firm in your body and you are grounded in your awareness that everything you put out comes back, and you understand the immense power that you have within you, you will not act out of the emotions that rise within you. You will be able to feel those emotions in a deep way, but put out an energy that is totally positive and totally neutral to the external world. You will be able to feel those things moving through your system, yet nonetheless say things and do things that bring positive energy to the world around you.
What do you think we should do if we don't know what to do with our lives?
Learn how to trust your heart. Learn how to get in touch with your heart. And note, again, what excites you, what brings you more passion and unconditional love than anything else, and prioritize those things. If you don't know what to do at all, that's a great place to start, because you can allow yourself to sort through so many different things and see which of them bring you a feeling of passion, which of them bring you to feel excited and energized about life, and which ones cause you to feel limited and restricted. As you get to know the outcome of the many choices you're making, start to prioritize more and make more choices that resonate with that frequency of love, and let the fear-based belief systems fall away by continuing to choose love, and you will find what you're doing with your life once you are knowing what your heart guides you towards. This is what leads you to happiness. Doing what you love is the only way to actually experience happiness, and that is the point of being here.
How do you love your mom or parent without attachment? Since I think we are attached since we were kids.
There is a difference between the attachment that you can describe in your psychological terms and the attachment that we're talking about on a spiritual level. The attachment that is a bond between people is a natural thing that happens within families and within couples and within very close group of friends. These bonds keep people together, and they create a healthy sense of self and a healthy sense of community. So we're not saying don't have bonds. What would be non-attachment with bonds is to be okay with whatever choice they're making and with whichever way they choose to respond to you. Having non-attachment means that if you are trying to change one of your parents' unhealthy behaviors, and you do so much work to talk to them about it and support them with things that might help them do something different, and they don't seem to change, that you simply let it go. It means that you don't force anyone to change. It means as well that you don't force them to change their energy as it relates to you as well. Allow them to express themselves, allow them to be exactly who they are, and don't try to force a dynamic that isn't possible within that relationship. Simply express the unconditional love and express that you're there to connect with them, but that you're not really there to force them to do anything, and you're not available for the sorts of energies and exchanges of communication that might in some way be toxic to you.
Thank you, Council. Our time has come to an end.
All right. Well, we thank you. We thank each and every one of you for co-creating this interaction. It's been a great gift for us, because every time that we get to meet you in your world, it also expands our reality in a similar way, that we learn and grow through the reflections that you offer us. And we hope that you have learned and grown a lot through the reflections we've offered you. So we close this co-creation for now, though we do remind you that we are connected to each and every one of you, and each and every one of you has your own guides and is an embodiment, an emanation of the one source. And we hope that you can tap into that more today after this session, and continue to do so and grow into that remembrance, and allow love to guide you, because it will bring you to incredible places, incredible states, incredible new dimensions, literally. So, our unconditional love and gratitude to you, and we wish you a fantastic rest of your day then. Okay. Thanks, everyone.